Hi everyone, my name is Ashdeep Kaur. My student ID is 13969630. The topic of my proposal is sustainable development. Basically, sustainable development is a long term solution to how we plan our indefinite progress in the future without causing damage to the environment so as to guarantee a safe habitat for the next generation who will continue to develop their economies, societies, and care for the environment with a similar ideal in mind. It satisfies our need without sabotaging the opportunities of others. The concept covers a broad scope of matters such as environmental, social, and economic development, which continues to prove its importance in our lives as it affects all aspects of them. The United Nations have set out a number of sustainable development goals which are called SDGs and targets to serve as guidelines for the future and optimal conscious development. In 2015, to transforming the world, the Agenda 2030 was adopted by 193 countries belonging to the United Nations. It outlined 17 sustainable development goals and 169 targets which are associated to them. They tackle social, economic, personal, physical, and environment issues, which again emphasizes the all encompassing nature of sustainable development. On the other side, many argue that the sustainable development goals cover too broad an area of the issues and should be more focused if they are to be achieved over the next 12 years. Some target could also be said to be rather idealistic, such as first target no poverty, and the another one is the income of every individual should not drop by $1.25 a day. The thing is, why it is important, we need to think about it. Owing to a rapidly growing population in the future, more resources will be needed in order to accommodate for it, and unfortunately, the resources that we take benefit of now are not all renewable. Taking this into consideration, the tech industry will have to adapt to future conditions. As of now, the rare metals and minerals used in the industries, such as palladium, and another factor to consider is the fact that China currently produces 97% of the world's rare earth material, and were it to hypothetically place a blockage of its exports production to the technological goods would become incredibly difficult. Seeing as our industries are investing and relying more and more on the technology, if rare earth metals were to slowly disappear, pricing and would rocket and would inflation rates also, making it impossible to function for at least a prolonged period of time. For this reason, new alternatives and innovations in the tech industry are essential to sustainable development in order to secure steady development in the field without relying on an excessive amount on exhaustible materials. Now, here I need to consider what are the Australian goals. In the 2030 agenda is both a domestic and international agenda. It is well aligned within Australia's interests, especially in promoting regional stability, security, and economic prosperity. Australian government coordination on implementation of Agenda 2030 is led by the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade and the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet. Soon after the SDGs were launched, Australia produced the 2018 voluntary national review that highlighted Australia's achievement, priorities, and challenges, both domestically and internationally. Now the thing is, what are the challenges that country would face in fulfilling and in following these SDGs? In the field of sustainable development, there are many major challenges to be addressed. They requires us to rethink our economy and our growth in favor of a society that is more economical in its use of raw material and energy as well. Some of these challenges include climate change, energy consumption, waste production, threats to public health, poverty, management of natural resources, loss of biodiversity, and land use also. In the context, sustainable development approaches are now essential obligations. Sustainable development must mainly to be able to respond to the various problems raised by demographic growth, the planet's limited capacity, and social inequality. Let's say in 2100 from now, it's been, I think, 75 years from now, 77 years exactly. The world's population will be close to 10 billion. It is estimated or anticipated. But the earth does not have unlimited resources, especially since individual consumption have been increasing considerably because the less developed countries wish to catch up with the developed countries. Greenhouse gas emissions are one of the main consequences of human activity that accelerate global warming. This warming carries risk of shortage and the disruption of certain natural cycles such as freshwater impoverishment of agriculture soil, deforestation and reduced biodiversity. This means that the future development of all species living on earth, ultimately including human beings, is under threat. In order to sustainable development must also be harmonious. At least a certain amount of social cohesion must exist on a planetary scale in order to create the condition for the peace we need. Major differences between the situation of economic players are sources of tension and conflict. The North and South economies divide the unequal distribution of the consumption of the planet's natural resource between world's populations are notable potential causes of tension. Now, here the big challenge is, will the 10 billion men and women inhabiting our planet in 2100 years be able to live as well as the 750 billion people in industrialized nations do today? Really need to think about it. To recapitulate everything, I must say, energy and the preservation of the resources are currently at the heart of the international development on sustainable development. Energy occupies a major role in the alleviation of the poverty and the construction of sustainable development. This is a basic aspect of the physical and natural world and humanity's socio-economic system. Energy therefore constitute one of the critical area for the interaction between technology, economics and politics. It is definitely at the heart of the social and environment matters, as is its fundamental role in any system for planning or developing a society. As a primary source, it is crucial for the implementation of all initiatives to combat poverty and constitute the engine of socio-economic development. The case of agriculture illustrates how electrical energy can significantly improve living conditions in the rural area of poor countries. Note also that eliminating poverty is one of the central object of modern development policy. Access to energy services is an essential tool to improve the capabilities of poor and underprivileged populations, thus promoting equality. Some schools of thought even argue that Access to sustainable energy should be set out as basic human right. If production does not succeed in fulfilling our growing energy needs, however, the access of the poor or rural populations to electricity and other sources could become even more difficult. Thank you so much.